Something like that. Keep going.
We'll keep going up to where was your car for a second.
Okay.
There you go.
Good. So I'm Richard Ward, and I'm the owner of the Terraform tiny homes. My first tiny home was 250 square feet, and then I converted the Honda Element here into a stealth micro camper to take off across the country for a couple months and try and find a new place to put the big house. After a couple weeks in the car, I realized I just liked living out of the car and I didn't need my big house anymore. So when I got back to Texas, I decided to start building Terraform 3, my super tiny micro home that's 54 square feet. So let me give you a tour of my Honda Element stealth camper. I originally designed this to be a stealth camper, and so what that means is I can basically park anywhere in any neighborhood, you know, completely undetected. And so the idea is to keep it looking as much like a car as possible. Some of the design things, you know, I used all black bedding, blackout curtains, basically wanted to keep it as dark as possible. One thing I've learned is that, you know, the only way somebody actually knows you're sleeping in a car is if they see a body part or something like that. You know, they see your hand or your face or something like that. So if you're, you know, up in a black blanket, it limits the chances of somebody seeing you. This car was basically built for, you know, full-time living. So it's got a kitchen, a shower, you know, water, electric, a bed that, you know, this one is meant for a single traveler, but I've actually traveled in it with two people before and expanded the bed out. It's got, you know, a lot of storage space in it, more than I actually needed. When I left on my trip, I had about 3 times what I did when I actually came back. So I learned, you know, stuff that I didn't use for like a month. I'm like, I'm just getting rid of this. So it's funny that, you know, you're like living at a 32 square feet is so, what do you do with all your stuff? When you have to live on the road, you realize your space is more valuable than the things you have. So I ended up getting rid of just a ton of stuff whenever I was traveling in this. This is what I use for storage. So I built this bed platform back here, and basically that will house 4 of these big plastic tote bins. I use that for food storage, cooking storage, you know, stuff like that. And then this is actually the 3rd iteration of the kitchen. So this is just a drawer that kind of slides out and locks into place, and I can put my propane burner on that, cook on this. The original version actually went between the 2 doors and gave me a lot bigger counter space, but was a lot more just fiddly and kind of a pain to put together. So actually in the middle of a campsite, met a guy that helped me cut my original board to pieces and build this in the middle of the redwood forest. So I've got this is a blow-up mattress. I've got a lot of cargo hanging net storage up here. So this has been great. You know, I lose my keys like every single day, so I put a carabiner on those and I can hang it up here. Also, you know, putting up clothes that, you know, I just wore for the day. So if I'm sleeping and I'm not in my clothes anymore and somebody knocks on the window, I can at least access them. For the blackout windows, I put, it's a Reflectex that's wrapped in a black t-shirt I got for like $1 at the thrift store. In the back here, so for whatever reason, the Honda Element didn't have access for you to get out of the car from the back. So, you know, in the way I do, I just rip things apart and make it work for me. So this is my little escape hatch lever. And then this will hook on to right here, so you can kind of bring that down and have it open, you know, only slightly. So this was super nice whenever I was like up in Oregon, Washington area, backed up to the ocean at a campsite, put a mosquito netting just all around here with, that's just Velcro, duct tape, and mosquito netting, and just able to sleep backed up to the ocean. So one of the things that I added to the car that was extremely valuable and extremely cheap was these little window covers. And what that allowed me to do is keep the windows cracked even if it's raining at night. Because something I learned very, very quickly is that, you know, just breathing in the car creates a lot of humidity and it kind of makes it miserable in there if you don't have the right ventilation. So that just cheap little add-on helped out a lot. Again, to create the stealth camper effect, I put in, all this is bungee cord, some thrift store fabric, and safety pins. And that goes there. And at that point, you know, if it's dark at night, all this looks like is a dark car. I had a little bitty light that I went in there, and you could even, you know, keep the light on, but no light was shining out of the car, which was super, super nice because, you know, it gave me privacy. In 5 months of traveling, I got my window knocked on once, and that was because I broke all the rules that I had whenever I was looking for places to park. I was parked in a place that said no camping and not around other cars. So I kind of deserved it. The cop, he was fairly nice, and he goes, you know, if you need a place to sleep for the night, there's a Motel 6 down the road. So I went to the Motel 6 and slept in their parking lot. But yeah, with the blackout curtains, it makes it super easy to just go into any neighborhood, park, pull the blinds. You know, I would always stop a couple blocks from where my initial spot was, get out, brush my teeth, all that. So whenever I actually pulled into my spot, you know, I pulled the curtains in 30 seconds and just went to bed. I've got an electric bank on the other side that is actually run off of a solar panel that is mounted on the rooftop. So I took the really nice, expensive cargo box and started drilling holes into it to mount a solar panel on the roof. And that gives me enough electricity to charge my phone, charge my laptop. I've got a ceiling fan in here that runs off of the 12-volt battery. So, you know, that gives you kind of a good airflow, especially if you're sleeping in it and it's hot or sticky or whatever. Water tank in here, and then that I can fill up my shower with, which is just a garden sprayer with a kitchen nozzle attached to it. So that I would either, you know, boil a little bit of water and put that in there, or leave it on the roof for a little bit to heat up from the sun. So the Honda Element doesn't really come with a very good center console, and in my style, you know, I'm not afraid to go in and rip things out and make them work for me. So one of the really custom things I did in here was build this whole container box. So basically this is my sort of power station central thing. I have a 12-volt line that runs from the back through an extension cord that runs into 5 USB ports and then a 400-watt inverter. All of that wires run hidden into this little storage unit thing that can keep all my electronics in, and the best part is there's a little lock on it so I can keep everything safe. So this is Terraform number 2, and then this is Terraform number 3, my newest build. So this is Terraform 3, my newest micro home. It's 54 square feet, and it was actually built off of an old boat trailer. So the goal of this house was to get something that was a lot smaller, a lot more mobile than my first 250 square foot house, but still something that was very comfortable to live in. So let me give you a tour. So after living out of the Honda Element for about 4 months, I got back to Texas and decided I didn't want the big house anymore, but I still wanted to, you know, live tiny and be a lot more mobile. So I started building Terraform 3 out of an old boat trailer as a nice compromise between the 250 square foot house and the Honda Element. Some of the features that are in the Terraform 3 that weren't in the Honda Element was I have the full-size bed in this one. I have an indoor bathroom, which was, you know, a luxury compared to living out of the car. and I'm able to stand up in here. So those were kind of my 3 requirements whenever I started building this. Everything else, you know, I was okay with cooking outside or, you know, working outside and all that. So I work for myself and I work from home. So this actually is a desk that doubles as storage. Over here I have my bathroom. And basically this is just a salvage cabinet with a water bladder in it that runs to the sink. This is enough for me to brush my teeth, wash my hands, things like that. And then I have the little composting toilet, a curtain for privacy just in case I had 2 people in here. So one of my favorite things about this entire house is the skylight. This is actually a salvaged school bus window that opens all the way up, and with it being just above the bed, you know, it's one of the greatest things ever to just lay in bed at night and look up at the stars. This also actually gives you access to a rooftop deck. So this house is a little bit like Mary Poppins' purse, where all closed up it's 54 square feet, but once you expand it all out, it's about 124 square feet of usable space. So one thing that I really like to do is use weird, quirky, reclaimed materials. So for all my countertops in here, I used wine corks that are glued down and then an epoxy is poured over them. For my floors, I used vintage drawing books that I put a mix of Elmer's glue and water to glue them down, a whitewash, and then an epoxy on top of all of those. When designing in such a small trailer, I wanted to utilize as much outdoor space as I possibly could. So this entire back wall basically opens up to be a patio and to access the outdoor kitchen and outdoor shower. In living out of the element, I got pretty used to cooking outside and had no problems with it. So being able to access my kitchen from the outside helped me save a lot of space. Doubling up on the sink, I actually use this as an outdoor shower as well. So that just pulls out and then you can use it out here. I'll be putting curtains all around the outside of it more for other people's privacy than my own. And this also acts as a little outdoor patio sort of space. So with this, I ran all 12-volt electricity, and so I have all these really cool little LED 12-volt lights, and I actually have them into the wall up here. So this works as like outdoor lighting whenever you're hanging out on the patio, and when the door is shut, it gives a little kind of ambiance to the place. So underneath the countertop, I have, right now it's just a normal cooler, but this will be wired up for a 12-volt cooler, and that just slides out to give you access there. I'm working on putting extra counter space that will fold up here. Again, just kind of like making this whole house expand and using as much space as possible, but keeping it all as condensed and tight as possible. So my first real traveling experience, I was given the opportunity to go on a cruise all over Europe with my grandpa at 20 years old. Whenever I was in Norway, I found there was all these little bitty trolls everywhere, and I couldn't figure out why. And finally I asked a lady, you know, what's with the trolls? And she goes, you know, the trolls, if you're nice to them, bring you good luck. If you're mean to them, they play tricks on you. And I'm like, you know what, I like these things. So I got this little bitty troll as a good luck charm, and he's been with me for 7 years now traveling. Since moving into this house and starting traveling more, I got really fascinated with how different cultures have their own little good luck charms. So now everywhere I start traveling, I start collecting those, just little trinkets and things like that. So, you know, I went to Tijuana, and this lady was telling me they have the little demon masks down there. And those are basically to scare off bad spirits and stuff like that. I went to a Buddhist temple and got my little Tibetan prayer flag. You know, I really want to get a little Buddha shrine sort of thing, but I got to find a cool place that I travel to find one. You know, this isn't things that I can just buy. So I've been starting to collect those sort of things, you know, just to bring kind of good vibes into the house.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And click left or right for more tiny house stories and